Welcome back to WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Dylan Brashier, and we're back on another Monday with some more important recruiting news. Before we get to today's episode, I want to take a break to thank our sponsor, Bird Dogs.
Thanks so much to Bird Dogs for sponsoring this video and sending me some of their signature Bird Dogs shorts. Their design fits slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving me a truly sculpted look. Other shorts are made of restricting stiff cotton, which Bird Dogs fixes this using cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches to get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Go to birddogs.com/USC or enter promo code USC at checkout for a free Getty-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/USC or promo code USC at checkout for a free Getty-style tumbler. You won't want to take off your Bird Dogs, and that's a promise.
So if you're seeing this on Monday, you've probably seen our latest three non-commitments, and that's Mike Matthews, Taylor Tatum, Kingston Biliamu-Asa, unfortunately not committing to USC. Scott, what does that mean for the 2024 recruiting class?
Well, there were a couple of guys they really wanted that you named off there, and I just think that they're probably going to have kind of a slow period here for a while, but there are a couple of guys that are going to be announcing potentially later this month. I doubt it can probably happen later this month now for Jalen Harvey, but he's one of the top edge rushers for USC, and so that could be an announcement to look forward to here down the road. He said he's at least going to announce in August. You have Edric Houston, 5-star defensive lineman. Coaches back at Buford say it's a close race between Ohio State and USC, and it'll be interesting to see if we see him on campus here when the dead period ends for like a 4 or 5 day window. So that's another guy that they could potentially get something from. I think it's a long shot, but you never know. And so I think you got guys like Jericho Johnson, a defensive lineman from Northern California. You got Aiden Breland from modern day defensive lineman. You have guys that have planned all along to take their official visits during the football season. You got Chris Cole, linebacker from Virginia. And so there's going to be more too. They'll keep evaluating players and probably offer, at some point after 2-3 weeks of the football season.
For sure. And then, it's different for every player, but do you want to go into, possibly why we lost these three recruits?
Well, Taylor Tatum and Kingston you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor Tatum, it turns out that baseball was really significant with his recruitment. And I think that the combination of playing football and baseball at Oklahoma just seemed to make more sense for him. Whether it actually does in the long run or not, we don't know. But I think it just came down to it was closer to home. To be honest with you, I think that the proximity to home was a lot bigger deal than we think. And with Kingston,
Biliamu-Asa, I know you mentioned in the past that he wanted to go into real estate, and LA was the pinnacle of real estate. Not much in South Bend, but I'm wondering why you think he chose Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think that he said he prayed on it and just felt like Notre Dame was where he would feel maybe less comfortable or something like that. But at the same time, that's not what I want to finish on. There's a lot that he loves about Notre Dame. I think there's a closeness with the coaching staff that he has there. There are some guys on the football team currently that he knows really well, and they were able to sell the program pretty well as also. So I think there's a lot going on there that he just really liked, and I think it happens occasionally where guys just want to leave where they're from and go to school. So I think getting out of LA was something that I think as we got closer, like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I think that started to become more of a reality that he was not going to stay in Los Angeles.
Definitely. And, we really had our hearts set on Taylor Tatum. Do you see USC offering any more running backs in the 24 class?
Yeah, they could. They've had their eye on a running back from Texas, Derek McFall. So he's a guy. This is a really good-looking running back as well. In fact, UCLA just offered, and he immediately put them into his top 3, and he's announcing his school choice on August 4th. So he is one guy they could offer. You never know. They could go back on Nate Palmer, but I think he's going to stick with TCU. You never know. But I think that this potentially could offer another running back. Nate Frazier gets asked about. You actually brought him up before we started recording this, and For whatever reason, there just hasn't been really any strong interest from Kyle McDonald and Nate Frazier. And I'm really high on Nate, so I would love to know what the flaw or the reasoning is on why you wouldn't pursue him.
Definitely. And then not just running backs, but do we see ourselves offering any more other positions?
They will.
Gotcha.
They have their eye. Yeah, there's guys right now that essentially are at the point where you want to watch them play 2 or 3 games before okay, I've seen enough now, or maybe they'll need to see a little bit more even after that. But I think just like last year, I think they offered a dozen or so guys at various positions during the football season. So I think you'll see something similar this year as well.
Perfect. Okay, so to wrap up today's show, we're going to discuss who's going to be, the worst in the Pac-12. We always talk about who's going to be the best. We're going to take the time to see who's going to be the bottom of the pack. Scott, who do you think?
Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of people who will disagree with me on this one, but I'm going to go ahead and go with Colorado.
Wow.
I know Stanford is picked to finish last in the Pac-12, and they may. I don't know, but I just look at it this way: Colorado last year was a winless football team essentially.
Yeah.
So they'll probably upgrade but even if they upgrade and they win a lot more games, which would be like 4 or 5 more games, that's like probably going to be last in the Pac-12 for all I know. Arizona, you and I talked about Arizona is vastly improved. I don't think they're anywhere near the worst team in the Pac-12. You'd probably make an argument that Cal is worse than the teams that we just talked about, also. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Colorado, and I'm sure we'll hear about it in our comment section.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to disagree about Colorado. I think they're going to improve, and I see your point. I mean, they have a lot of issues on and off the field, but I'm going to have to go with Cal. We're looking at their past recruiting classes, 55th recruiting rank in 22, 46th recruiting rank in 23, and that was last in the Pac-12. They're coming off a 4-8 record, and when looking at other teams in the Pac-12, everyone's gotten better. They've either hired new coaches, taken transfer players. They haven't. I mean, they have, but they're stuck with Justin Wilcox, and I don't think they're getting out of a rut anytime soon. Last year, the bottom 4 teams in the Pac-12 were Arizona State, Stanford, and Colorado, and then, of course, Cal. And in my opinion, all 3 of those teams have improved. And I feel like that means easy to say Cal's going to be last in the Pac-12.
It could be. I mean, the one thing about Cal, I don't know why, but they just can't find anybody to coordinate that offense. And it just looks so awful.
Yeah.
Last year, I mean, it was almost painful to watch at times how bad it actually looked. And at times that defense that they had, they may not have been the most talented, but some of those games I watched Cal play defense, I was like, damn, they're really balling. But that offense, you couldn't do anything. But I'm leaning more towards you probably being correct on that one. But I think both programs are gonna struggle though. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even Stanford would probably be thrown in the mix. They have a first-year coach, first-year quarterback. Troy Taylor brought his preferred quarterback in Ari Patu, so they might have some chemistry and then magic on the field. But as far as I think Cal is clearly the bottom of the pack.
Yeah, and you talked about the recruiting part with Cal. It's far harder for Stanford to recruit because of the requirements they have academically.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like, blowing Cal away with recruiting.
Exactly. But, I mean, when I was in high school, I was thinking, where would I want to play football? I don't want to go to Berkeley.
Yeah.
That isn't a dream town for a college for an athlete at least.
Yeah.
But, I mean, now let's flip it. Who do we think is going to be the biggest surprise in the Pac-12?
The biggest surprise.
Yeah. Take your time.
I hadn't really even thought about that that part because Oregon State really can't be a surprise anymore, right?
I mean, I was going to say they're going to be a surprise. I feel like a lot of people are underestimating them.
Okay, I agree with that. I mean, I think if we're definitely on the same page there. I think that they did. I know Mark will potentially disagree with this, but I feel like they definitely upgraded at quarterback with DJ.
That's fair. Yeah. He has a lot more tangibles.
Yeah. And you're talking about a coach that is going to, I just think he's one of the best coaches in college football to start with. So that offense, they just are, they don't need to ask DJ to win games for them like Caleb does for USC. just come in and do your stuff, and just be productive. Be a field manager, and I think that DJ can definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming off, one of their better seasons. And I think with the addition of DJ and, they just got their stadium renovated, I think they can be easily a top 5, top 4 Pac-12 team this season.
I mean, just piggyback on talking about the crowd noise at Oregon State.
Exactly.
We had an opportunity to sit with Lincoln Riley at Pac-12 Media Day at lunchtime. So one of the questions I asked him, I said, had you ever experienced a game where the crowd noise was as crazy loud as it was at Oregon State in any of your times at Oklahoma or anywhere you've ever coached? And he said, no. I mean, he didn't even have to hesitate because they pumped in the crowd noise.
Yeah, it was only half the fans.
Were you there?
It was so loud. I wasn't there, but I saw it on TV.
Dude, I'm telling you, it was bananas.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like being at an airport and they just turned the engines on right next to you.
You were there?
Yeah.
Oh man, that must have been crazy.
It was. I mean, it was a hell of a game too, right? I mean, that was a
it came down to the wire.
Yeah. So, Oregon State definitely. I think that, it would have been interesting to see what they could have done last year if they would have had a quarterback that was, at least good.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Also, I think Washington State can definitely improve off last season. Cameron Ward, I think, is going to be a dark horse Heisman finalist. He has a lot of sneaky characteristics about him. I think he can definitely pull off a great year this year.
Yeah. But, after that, the other surprise could be Arizona.
That's fair. Jaden DeLora. Yeah, he has quite an arm.
Yeah.
I just think they lost quite a few guys. To us, Dorian Singer, Keon Bars, Christian Roland Wallace. That's
that is significant. But they did really, really well in the offseason and the transfer portal. And they had a good nucleus of guys on offense there. And I think, the X factor is DeLora. I just think that's a dude that gives you an opportunity to win football games.
Yeah, last year he put up what? He almost gave us a scare. He put up 300 yards on us, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, definitely a good game. Well, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of WeAreSC's Recruiting Roundup with Scott Schrader. I'm Dylan Brashier, and we'll see you next Monday. Fight on.